Now it's on. We'll get back into order and we'll officially begin. Okay. You want? Wait. I did, but they said need a permit. Okay. We've been told that the signs, the district signs, is where the district superintendent is going to sit, but you don't have to have the whole district sit with the superintendent. You may sit wherever you wish is the instructions. So it's to identify your superintendent, but all the district does not have to conform to that. Okay, we're going to get going, so we welcome you to your seats, and please find any seat is fine, and we'll officially call ourselves to order. Keep in mind we're not having to sit in districts this time. You are free to sit wherever you want and to make new friends. And we're going to invite Christina Gonzalez to introduce our guest, special guest.
Good morning, conference. Nice to see you all again. As is our tradition, we like to start our gatherings with an acknowledgement that this land belonged to the American Indian people before settlement, in quotations, before colonization of the Americas. And so today, we're very honored to have in our midst an elder from the Puyallup tribe, and you'll see her granddaughter, who hasn't made a decision whether she's staying on the platform or not, Kalina, that is with Grandma today. So in a moment, if you would join me in welcoming, please, Ms. Connie McLeod, who is the Director of Culture of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. She is an elder and has worked with the tribe in some capacity for over 40 years. Does this often, welcoming and blessing groups to this land that was traditionally the land of the Puyallup. Would you welcome her, please?
Okay, what are we reading off of?
Good morning. My spiritual name is Slu Paikol, Cedar Moon Woman. My people have lived here for thousands and thousands of years. Our creation stories tell us of a time of a great flood. Our people gathered their things and all of their belongings and loaded their canoes and followed the rivers up to the top of the mountain. And our sacred mountain is Mount Tahoma. I see some sunshine. I'm not certain that you can see our mountain yet this morning, but a little bit earlier it was raining and it was foggy. But our mountain overlooks this valley, It is that source of nutrition for our land, but also for our people. All of the things that come from our sacred mountain, our water, feeds this land, feeds our water. Our salmon are sacred. The foods that grow from this earth are sacred. We continue our ceremonies to give thanks for the food this Mother Earth gives to us. And those are teachings from the beginning of time. So as the waters began to recede, and along the waterway of the Puyallup River, our people reestablished their villages. We have lived in this valley from the beginning of time. Our people have a relationship with this land. We are very interdependent upon the land and the water and those things that come from this place. So this morning we welcome you to our home. I hope that your time here is well spent, that the work that you need to do here is done well, and that you're able to care for each other in a way that benefits all of us. So this morning, my prayer, I'm going to share as a song that I sing, as a blessing for all of us to begin our day. Many times I share this song when we're greeting canoes, and I'm taught to be able to sing so that the furthest person can hear me. So I step away from the mic just a bit. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Hoo-yay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Ay, 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 aha. Hey.
Amen.
I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
This is a small gift and token of our appreciation.
Thank
Connie.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's give her a hand. Thank you. All right, we are about to have our procedural motions to begin, and we'll turn to our secretary for that.
Bishop, I move that the printed program be declared the official program of the conference, that the orders of the day be those printed in the daily announcements and schedule, that the process used in the registration procedure be designated as the official roll call for the 143rd annual session of the conference, that the bar of the conference be established as the platform and the seating area at tables in this showplex center of the Washington State Fairgrounds, and that the minutes of the daily sessions of the conference as kept by the secretary, myself, when approved and certified by the president and myself thereof, together with reports of the councils, boards, commissions, and committees of the Pacific Northwest Conference of the United Methodist Church, be printed in the journal and be the official record of the 143rd annual session of the Pacific Northwest Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. So moved.
It is before you properly. Let us just check to see if anybody has any questions. Those are pretty standard for us. All right, if you would approve our opening procedures, would you please say yes? Yes. Any opposed? No. All right, we're off and running. I'm going to turn to John. Any introductions or?
Well, I think there's some folks that would love to welcome you. And as they're coming forward, I want to make sure that everyone has gotten the agenda for the day, the daily announcements. The pages were busily passing those out. Please make sure that you have one of those in front of you. We'll try to stick closely to the time schedule, although we've already delayed our beginning, but we'll be fine. We'll make it up. But if you are on the schedule, would you please pay attention to when you're up? And in particular, those that are going to be doing reports this morning, if you could make your way to the front, that would be helpful to speed up things.
Bishop, it is my pleasure. I have a microphone.
Main podium.
There we go.
There
Bishop,
we go.
It's my pleasure to bring you greetings on behalf of the laity of the Pacific Northwest Conference. We heard that you have been in a season of conferences
Yeah.
and know that energy may be waning, but we will do our best to imbue you with some energy from ourselves. I also want to welcome Jan, who is back in the corner here waving. Jan, it's wonderful having you with us. Would you please help me please down? I ran into Jan at the hotel this morning, and she had lots of energy. She seemed like she was ready for this. So,
Oh, yeah.
So
She doesn't have 3 annual conferences to preside.
so Jan, thank you for being with us. It's a pleasure to see you.
Thanks, Joe.
And Bishop, on behalf of the PNW Episcopacy Committee, but specifically the Western Jurisdiction, want to share in Joan's greetings. I'd like all of you, if you're willing, we're going to practice something. If all of you would stand. Those of you who know this song, sing with gusto. Those who don't, find page 7 in your handbook, or perhaps the words will appear. I asked moments ago. And we are going to sing, "Beloved, beloved, we are the children of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when God appears, we know that when God appears, we shall be like God, we shall be like God, we shall see God face to face. From the fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for sounds of loudest praise. Beloved, beloved, we are the children of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when God appears, but we know that when God appears, we shall be like God, we shall be like God, we shall see God face to face. And would you pray with me, please? Dear God, we are grateful for these 2 beloved children of God, in particular, Grant and Jan. We thank you for their presence in our lives throughout this last year. We are grateful for their time with us now. May your spirit of Sabbath rest on them. Amen.
Thank you. Thanks, Emery. Always good to have you here. It's back like old times.
It is.
There was a few introductions that I know of. A couple people are visiting. Reverend Steve Ross from the Oregon-Idaho Annual Conference is with us. Steve, are you here with us? There he is in the back, waving. Yeah, good to have Steve with us. And we have Joe Talbert from the Alaska Conference with us, and Joe is the trustees chair. Joe, are you here with us somewhere in the back? Oh, there he is, in the way back over there. Good to have Joe with us. And Lisa's not able to make it this year because she's kind of under the weather. So, but we send greetings and thank you for being here, Joe, to represent Alaska. Yeah. Are there some folks that I know we have a couple of national agency folks with us. They might not be here now, but we will introduce them as they come. Any other introductions that I'm missing right now? Any flag me? Okay, well, we'll continue to look for some folks as they gather in.
I believe we have greetings from the fantastic Tacoma District and some logistical folks to help us with things about the conference, so if they would come forward.
Do I get to go first? Welcome to the Tacoma District.
Yay!
Woo! You have arrived in one of the most beautiful places, and I know this because I moved here last weekend. So Puyallup is gorgeous. You cannot see it now. It is cloudy, but in a couple of days when the sun comes out, the mountain will be overhead and it will be gorgeous. And the local produce here is amazing. So make sure you visit one of the places. Tacoma District is a wonderful and beautiful place. We are diverse in churches and ethnicities, and we love it here, and we hope that you will love it too. So I know that you all will have needs. You will need something to drink, some kind of food or restaurant to recover from your day events, and you will probably need a pharmacy at some point. So if you live in Puyallup or know the Puyallup area well, will you please stand up? Come on, there are some of you. All right, these people standing, they will help you. I promise you. And if they won't, come find me. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Rick Jameson, and I'm the Assistant Treasurer in the Conference Office, and I'm also a safety advocate for this 2016 annual conference. Joining me in that position this year is Brant Henshaw, Terry Toby, Kate Pallermini, and Alan Rogstad. What a safety advocate does is make sure that you have somewhere to go or someone to talk to if you feel like you've been threatened in any way. If you feel like someone is hurting you emotionally, physically, psychologically, or spiritually, the safety advocate is the person you want to go speak to so that we can try to help and try to resolve the problem. We all want you to have a great time and to feel safe. We believe that you're here for a reason, and that is to learn and have fun with your friends and for God to work in your lives. If you feel threatened or abused, or think that you see someone else being threatened or abused, please find me or any one of the safety advocates so that we can help you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do we have someone to help us talk about the hospitality or the accessibility issues that we face? Come on up. And if I could have the folks that are going to give us the preliminary reports come on deck, that would be great.
Kristen Ellison Oslin, clergy, Shoreline United Methodist Church, and in the Committee of Full Accessibility. You will find our committee table out just at right angle from Nancy Cook's hospitality desk. Our ministry, we have assistive listening devices for loan. We also have a great deal of work that we're doing about, and we really want to draw you to this, accessible Sunday schools for the diversity that we find in our children. So come to our table. If you have need for a parking placard because you need to park closer, that is at the hospitality desk. You would talk to Nancy Cook. That's all that I have right now.
And the hospitality desk is where?
It's just at the opposite side of this desk, this curtain rather. If you follow my arm.
So it's close by where we registered.
It's right, yeah, it's right
Okay,
at.
so folks
alongside.
can find those things at the hospitality desk, close by where we registered this morning.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. And we have some preliminary reports from the Rules Committee, from the finance folks, and then a couple of nomination reports. You guys can flip a coin to see who goes first.
Wes.
All right, Wes, come speak to us about rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the ritual beginning of annual conference, the Rules Committee report you've been waiting for. Please find in the materials, I believe it's in the materials that were in your packet when you arrived here, the document, a two-page stapled white document titled Draft Initial Report of the Rules Committee. And we'll be using that in just a minute. I erroneously titled it draft and left the draft on when it became final. So, the report contains 6 rules change proposals here, plus one note of correction of something we actually adopted 4 years ago and it just didn't make it into the journal. Please do go through this report over the next couple days. The Rules Committee doesn't particularly promote or oppose any of these, although we may be partial to the one we wrote ourselves. But our role is to shape the proposals that come to us as if they need to be shaped, so that they can be clear and functional as conference rules. It is not up to the Rules Committee to decide if these are good ideas. It's up to you. At the close of conference in our final report, the Rules Committee will be back, and at that time we will move the changes in this report. So if you turn to the top of the first page of the Rules Committee report, the only petition we are addressing is item 1 on this report, petition EE14 concerning designating a rental housing allowance for retired, terminated, or disabled ministers. And if the petition is adopted as it stands in the pre-conference materials, the Rules Committee will move that Rule 10, Section 6 be amended as stated in our report. The rest of the petitions coming to conference don't have rules implications, which is some kind of record. Congratulations, conference. At the bottom of page 1, we have part 2, rules changes that the committee has considered upon request and have submitted directly to you here. Item 1, at the request of the Board of Laity, the committee will move to amend Rule 6, Section 1C as stated. This is an example of trying to keep our rules caught up with reality. The standing committees listed in this rule haven't existed for several years. Item 2, the committee will move a new subsection 8 be added to the rule about lay leader or associate lay leader, stating that the associate lay leader may serve in any conference, board, or agency in the place of the lay leader as they find necessary. This would allow more flexibility in assuring representation from the lay leadership of the conference on boards and agencies. Turning to the top of page 2, Camping Board of Stewards, item 3. The committee will move to amend Rule 6, Section 1J to change the Camping Board of Stewards terms to the quadrennial rhythm along with the rest of the annual conference's nomination cycle. Okay, that's that. I should have stapled this. Still on page 2, other rules proposals. In our final report, we're going to move that Rule 5, Section 3 about focus sessions be extensively amended to change the way that focus sessions are structured and the way their officers are chosen. Please read the changes we're proposing in the rule on page 3 and 4 of our report. Parts A and B of that proposal would change the number of focus sessions, would assign the number of focus sessions and their areas of responsibility after the petitions deadline to annual conference, and would determine the number of focus sessions and their areas of responsibility based on the legislation that has been submitted to the annual conference. Part C, how members select their focus session, would remain unchanged. You're selecting your focus sessions relatively late in the process these days, and this would be a way of selecting them after the amount of legislation has been determined. Part D, the leadership of the focus sessions would be assigned by the Office of Connectional Ministry from a pool of conference members who have said they're willing to attend training and to serve. This would be instead of electing your officers for next year at the end of this year's focus session and hoping that they still are able to serve next year. And it also would take account of the fact that we don't know how many sessions, focus sessions, we would have in the coming year. The experience of the past several years has shown that some of the focus sessions have very little business and are unsatisfying for conference members. Other focus sessions have an overload of business and are not able to give due consideration to the work that's been set before them. Changes to sections A and B would allow the conference to adjust the scope of the focus sessions to match the work and give everyone something to do. Additionally, we've learned over the past several years that session officers are getting more and more unable to serve and/or unable to attend training. Changes to Section D will allow the officers for the conference to be recruited after we know the number and scope of focus sessions. One oddity about this year I need to point out, and that is that this year you're going to be asked to elect next year's focus session officers, but because of the, can I talk about next year's conference session? Sure. I need to talk about next year's conference session. Because of the projected joint session of annual conference meeting with Oregon, Idaho, all our bets are off about what our rules procedures will be. We're going to be gathering together and doing that in connection with the Oregon, Idaho conference as according to the rules that you passed a couple years ago. The planners will take your elections this year as recommendations of good people for leadership in next year's process and an indicator that they're probably willing to serve. But we don't know yet what the structure of the legislative sessions will be next year. Finally, turning to the top of page 4, the last item is a proposal to reorganize the conference connectional table, specifying more members by virtue of office and removing the rule-defined assignment of boards and agencies to ministry groups so that they can be more flexibly assigned as needed. The Rules Committee received this and will move this with one change to the wording that you see on the top of page 4. And that one change is halfway through the first paragraph. There's a line that begins with the word chair. In that line, we will be changing the word invited to the word appointed. The phrase will then read, 2 young persons appointed by the bishop, which is the way that all other persons designated by the bishop in the proposed rule are designated. That's all from the Rules Committee at this point. If you have questions or corrections, please contact me during breaks, and we'll be back with our final report on Sunday morning.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it.
Good morning, church. Good morning. My name is Brant Henshaw. I'm privileged to be able to... Oh, hold on a second. Megan Kilpatrick is needed at the registration desk if she's available. Could you find Nancy? Is Megan here? I'm not seeing movement, so I'm not sure that she's here. Is there another parish nurse available? On the way back. Thank you. My name is Brant Henshaw. Good morning, church. Now I know how pastors feel when something happens untoward in the middle of a service. I'm privileged to be able to serve as your annual conference treasurer, and given a few minutes to give you a little bit of an overview of what's been going on in the facilitation part of our conference life together, what I like to call administry. I work extensively with the conference trustees, Council of Finance and Administration, the Board of Congregational Development, and the Board of Pensions. I don't want to forget them. And through all of that, I get a pretty broad view of what's going on around the annual conference. And I want to use the three words that are part of our theme this time together, and I'm going to do them in backwards order. So I'm going to start with return. Beginning in 2014 through the end of our work here, we will have voted to discontinue 12 different churches in our annual conference. That's been a very grief-filled and trying process for those involved, both at the conference level, the district level, and in the local church. While that has been fraught with grief, in the coming days you're going to hear about how the assets from those discontinued churches are going to be reinvested into 10 new church starts and 5 redevelopment projects. That the legacy of the Epworth Lysurds, the Parkland UMCs, the Rainier Beach United Methodist Church are being put back into our communities to create new life and new ministry. The second word is rejoice. Now, going back to 2004, our apportionment paid percentage was 78.3%. In 2015, after a 2.5% increase, we hit 91.5%. And I want to applaud everybody and say thank you. That shared ministry is how we send missionaries to the 4 corners of the globe, how we do outreach and good social justice work here in the United States and around the world. We had 17 churches that paid 100% in 2015 that didn't pay 100% the year before. And that's just fantastic news. Now, in a couple of minutes, you're going to have the 2017 budget put in front of you as we have to do by rule. We'll vote on that later on Sunday. But we've had laity and clergy coming together on Council of Finance and Administration who are working diligently at right-sizing our conference budget. They're working to align the budget with our strategic missional priorities. And to this end, the Council of Finance and Administration will be instituting in 2018 budget a zero-based budgeting concept, which means that there will be no line item reserves for boards and agencies that carry over from year to year, but they will be pooled into what we're going to use as kind of an opportunity fund, a fund that will allow us to respond to requests and needs that crop up within the budget year. So the written report for myself and for CFNA and for the budget begins on page 69 of your pre-conference handbook, but there are 2 things that I want to point out in there in particular. We have increased the budget for our new faith community development by $90,000. That's a little over a 56% increase because it's one of our priorities. And the second is a $15,000 increase in our scholarships for higher education students that will be open to all Pacific Northwest United Methodists attending college or seminary and will be awarded by a subcommittee from the connectional table. So those are 2 significant changes. That last one came from some of the conversation here on the floor last year in talking about supporting young adults as they move into leadership. And our third word at the beginning of our list is rest. And so at this point, I'm going to take a short rest. I'm going to introduce you to Scott Anderson, who for the last 8 years has been chairing the Council of Finance and Administration, and he will be rotating off. But he's provided excellent leadership to that group, and he's going to be missed, but he will introduce the budget for you.
Thank you, Brent. The ceiling rule allows for a 1.2% increase to the budget for the coming year from last year's budget of $5.41 million. But what we're bringing before you is a recommendation for a budget decrease for the 8th time in the last 9 years. The proposed budget for 2017 will be $5,316,227. It can be found on pages 89 through 103 of your pre-conference handbook. And we're presenting it here before you now, so you have time for consideration before you vote on it on Sunday. The conference budget is now before you.
We will receive this as you get a chance to study this in the next coming days. So it's just a factor that you're receiving this. We can officially receive it by vote. If you would receive the budget, but we're not acting on it now until Sunday, would you just say yes? Yes. Any opposed? No? It is received. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Bishop.
My name is Julie Reinholtz. I am the Seven Rivers District Superintendent, and I am the Cabinet Nominations Chair for the Nominations Committee for Conference Nominations. Before you, you have the draft sheet, many sheets, of the work of the Nominations Committee for the new quadrennium and for this coming year for boards and agencies and committees for the conference. You'll also find district committees for building and locations, as well as district committees on ministries. This is only a draft. My email is at the top. If you have changes, please email them to me, and we will vote on these on Sunday. I present the draft of nominations to you at this time.
Again, we receive this. If everybody would say yes to receiving it. Yes. Any opposed? No. We receive it with joy. Thank you, Julie.
We have one more nominations report to receive. It's for the Western Jurisdictional Pool, which is not a body of water, but a wonderful group of people. And so David and Sharon will tell us about that.
I'm Sharon Moe at Seattle First in Seattle District.
I'm David Reinholtz, the Associate Conference Lay Leader, and I'm really not sure what we're doing up here.
Well, I know.
Good.
Well, we're doing what we're going to do, so whatever we do is what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay. It's really been a pleasure to be nominated as the Pacific Northwest Nominations Committee chairs for the jurisdiction. And what's been particularly delightful is working with David Reinholtz. He takes initiative, and he's one of the most pleasant people I've ever met. And we're becoming friends, and so this is a really good thing. I hope it'll be a good thing for all of you. But we're here to let you know that we are the people you talk to or email to if you are interested in a general or jurisdictional board or agency assignment.
Yes, and let me just state up front that for the small Western jurisdiction of which we are a part, our only hope to really have representation on some of these larger boards and agencies is if we can present a very diverse slate of nominees. So I encourage you to apply, particularly if you can help us with our diversity.
So we'll be doing our work at Jurisdictional Conference, which will begin on the 11th of July, and we covet not only your responses, indication of interest, your one-paragraph bio, but also your prayers as we do this work.
Is there a deadline? Yes. Let me just say that there is a deadline. Basically, if you or someone you would like to nominate, and you have to have their approval for that, want to serve at the jurisdiction or general board or agency level, we need to know that by the end of annual conference, because our secretary, Shirley, has to confirm and sort of validate those names and send them forward to the general conference, which will then transfer them to the Western jurisdiction, and they'll show up on our table when we do our work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to repeat, they submit names if they're interested to you or Sharon or David?
To David or Sharon, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then we'll direct you to a website where you'll have to put a bunch of information in and get put into a general conference database, but we can help you with that.
And our emails are in the journal.
Excellent. Sharon Moe, David Reinholdt's emails in the journal. Email if you're interested in being part of the Western Jurisdictional Pool. Thank you. There is an election coming, and no, I'm not talking about the one that is happening for the United States, but there is an election coming for a bishop, and so we'll have some folks here to tell us about that. But just before they speak, I want to call your attention to a packet that's on your table, hopefully, and it's entitled Plenary Cards. This is there to help us do our business together, and I want to give you a little bit of instruction. How many here are here at annual conference for the first time? Would you raise your hand? Would you congratulate these people on making this sacrifice of time? So hopefully this information will be helpful for you as we proceed. How many are here for more than their first time? Would you help congratulate these folks for the sacrifice of their time? This presentation is primarily for you who think you already know what I'm going to say. I would just ask, like the airlines do, would you just pay attention a little bit? So in the packets, you have a card that says for, and if you would like to speak to a motion, what we're inviting you to do is to raise the card, in favor of a motion, raise the card that says for. And then there's a card that says against. And if you would like to speak against a motion, you wave the card that says against. If you would like to make a motion or an amendment, there is a blue card for you to do that. Again, raise the card. If you are lost and you can't find a wonderful piece of paper you're supposed to have, raise a green card and ask a page to help you find or bring that paper to you. Then there is a white card that says point of order, personal privilege, and question. This card actually, I'm asking that you only use it for two purposes. One is for a point of order. If you're trying to understand where we are in the process or you have a question about the process, if you would raise the white card. I would appreciate if you would ignore the part that says personal privilege. Instead, if you have something that you would like to speak to as a matter of personal privilege, would you please write that down and submit it to the dais here, and then as the time allows within the schedule, we'll try to work that personal privilege in. This helps the process flow a little bit better, and I'd appreciate that. So now, as you understand what each of the cards are about, we ask that you would remain seated if you want to speak for or against, and hold the card up high so that we can see it. We can see pretty well here. There's only a couple of blind spots, but sometimes these lights can get right in our eyes too, so we'll do our best, and we have several spotters up here looking for cards. And then wait until the bishop acknowledges you before you rise from your seat and head to the designated microphone that the bishop will designate you to. Then when you get to the microphone, please state your name and state it slowly and clearly, and your ministry setting, what either church you're serving or what ministry setting you're working in, and whether you're a lay person or a clergy person, and then speak to the motion. Any questions on that information? We have a page card down here, so if there's a page that could help this gentleman in the front. So then we have some folks to help us think about the nominations for bishop.
Thank you. Basically, I'm just going to say what you just told them. I'm from the Western Jurisdiction Episcopacy Committee, and I want to announce that there will be one retirement this year. Bishop Warner Brown from Cal, Nevada will be retiring. And to confirm that, therefore, there will be one election for bishop when the jurisdiction meets in Scottsdale in July. And I think Shirley's going to tell us process.
If you would like to be nominated for bishop, you need to ask somebody to nominate you, and I think we need to do that now because these names need to be before you for election. I believe, when do you have that slated for, John? Sunday? Elections, actual balloting?
No, we do a ballot tomorrow.
Balloting tomorrow. So if you are interested in being nominated for bishop, you of course have to be an ordained clergy. You may see me or you may see Amory, and we will get the process underway for you.
Appreciate it.
I did forget one important item that should be on your tables or in these packets. These are these little half sheets that are multiple copies. If you have an amendment or you're making a motion that is not one before us, we ask that you would write it down and then have it sent to the front so the secretary has that. Thank you. I think that takes care of that. There's a motion.
Yes. Microphone number 2.
Dave Wright.
Number 2.
Thank you. Dave Wright, he, him, his pronouns, clergy, University of Puget Sound. Bishop Hagia, members and friends of annual conference and guests. I rise to make a motion this morning. It's an unusual moment to do so, and I am grateful for the chance to be invited to the microphone to speak. One of the ways that I understand Sabbath is that it is a space that breaks the cycles of the world, that invites joyous change, brings healing, and opens new possibilities. It makes space for the Spirit. As we center on the theme of Sabbath this year, and with many of us continuing to echo with pain following the actions of General Conference last month, with many of us grieving at the slaughter of mostly Latinx LGBTQIA people in Orlando just 2 weeks ago, and many of us who persist to live in and love in this community as Methodists, despite the ongoing harm caused by our denominational bias against LGBTQIA individuals. I rise on behalf of a group of clergy and laity to offer a motion of nonconformity with the General Conference of the United Methodist Church. The motion reads as follows. Action of nonconformity with the General Conference of the United Methodist Church. The Pacific Northwest Annual Conference, as a body, affirms our commitment to a fully inclusive church. Therefore, the Pacific Northwest Annual Conference will not conform or comply with provisions of the discipline which discriminate against LGBTQIA persons, including marriage, 161B, the Incompatibility Clause, 161F, ordination and appointments, 3043, homosexual unions, 341-6, annual conference funding ban, 613-19, GCFA funding ban, 8069, chargeable offenses pertaining to being a, quote, self-avowed practicing homosexual, end quote, or to officiating at weddings for couples regardless of the sex of the partners. The Pacific Northwest Annual Conference and its members will not participate in or conduct judicial procedures related to the discipline's prohibitions against LGBTQIA persons. The Pacific Northwest Annual Conference insists that any benefits available to clergy and employees and their families are available to all clergy and employees and their families, regardless of the sexes or genders of the partners, and requires the district superintendents to inform all clergy under their supervision of this right. The Pacific Northwest Annual Conference will realign its funding to reflect these commitments, using no reserve funds to pay for judicial procedures related to the discipline's prohibitions against LGBTQIA persons, and instead asking the connectional table to lead and fund efforts in cultural competency, anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-ageism, anti-homophobia, and anti-oppression training at the conference and district levels, as well as for advocacy and implementation efforts related to the same. Bishop, I make this motion on behalf of about 20 of us who have been working the past week to find ways to give voice to our needs and hurts. Thank you.
Is there a second? Yeah, I heard a second. All right. It is before you. Is there a follow-up on this? Okay. Number 2.
West Stanton clergy,
Tracyton and soon to be. And I am rising to move that we refer this matter to a committee of the whole.
Is there a second? All right.